presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are St. Louis.
This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball, and tonight from South Florida, it's the Miami Marlins playing host to the St. Louis Cardinals from Marlins Park. He's one of the top home run hitters in the game today, leads the National League. He's in the lineup tonight for Miami, GIANCARLO Stanton. And his club, one of the most improved in all of baseball. A year ago, 100-plus losses. This season, they've turned things around. Miami still in the hunt for a wild card. Welcome to Cardinals Baseball, along with Tim McCarver. My name is Dan McLaughlin. Delighted to have you with us. And the Marlins, much improved. They'll face a very good right-hander in the second half of the season for the Cardinals, and that's Shelby Miller.
I think it would be wrong to say that Shelby Miller has thrown 3 good games in a row. He has pitched 3 good games in a row, particularly his last outing against Boston last Wednesday night.
Tom Kohler will get the start for Miami, a right-hander. And for St. Louis, it's Shelby Miller. It's the Marlins, it's the Cardinals. Game 1 of 3 from Miami. Next on Fox Sports Midwest. In Game 3 against the Orioles, he pitched the 7th and the 8th, faced 6 hitters. It was 6 up, 6 down, and 4 strikeouts along the way. Pat Neshek and the Cardinals playing in Game 1 against the Marlins tonight here in Miami. Stanton is in the lineup tonight for the Miami Marlins, and he's leading the National League with 29 home runs. Surprising power from the Cardinals' second baseman this year, Kolten Wong, with 9. Shelby Miller looking for win number 9 tonight. Tom Kohler with our first pitch next on Fox Sports Midwest. Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser, designated driver, and enjoy the great times. Come in and visit Mid-American Chevy dealers and make your move to Chevrolet today. And by Menards, save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. We are located in Little Havana, home to the Miami Marlins. Marlins Park on deck tonight. Oscar Taveras, a unique situation. He's hitting in the 8th spot in the lineup. The stadium tour around baseball continues for A.J. Pierzynski. Holliday has been red hot against Miami in his career. And both these teams missing young arms and a postseason hero for St. Louis a year ago in Michael Wacha. The Cardinals lineup, they banged out 17 hits yesterday, a season high. Matt Carpenter will lead it off, followed by Kolten Wong. And then it's Matt Holliday who's hitting .264. In his career against Miami, good numbers for cleanup man Matt Adams. Then it's Johnny Peralta, A.J. Pierzynski, John Jay, Oscar Taveras, and the pitcher batting ninth, that's Shelby Miller. A right-hander is on the mound for Miami. From the Bronx, grew up a Yankees fan, and that's Tom Kohler.
From the Bronx and in the minor leagues, played for such glamorous teams as the Greensboro Grasshoppers, the Jamestown Jammers, and the Jupiter Hammerheads. 16-2 in 2010, and that gave him a shot in the big leagues. He was up facing Milwaukee a month later, or the month of September of 2010, and Tom Kohler's in the big leagues. But he has struggled since signing back in 2007.
Joined the Marlins rotation about mid-May of last year. And we've talked about the importance of Jose Fernandez, a huge loss, Tim, for the Marlins, but I think for the game of baseball.
Yeah, I do too. Only 22 years old, Tommy John surgery, and everybody hopeful he'll be back next year.
So here is Matt Carpenter. He'll lead it off. 73 runs scored this year, and that leads all of Major League leadoff men in the game today. And the first pitch is taken for a ball, and we're underway from Marlins Park. 83 degrees our game time temperature inside. Outside in the mid-90s. Roof is closed. They'll open it up during the day and it heats up, and it is hot and steamy here in South Florida. Two balls and one strike. Miami a year ago, 100 losses, and this season right around that 500 mark, minus Jose Fernandez, and a chance, an outside chance at a wild card spot.
Only 3 games under 500, 7 behind in the National League East.
I think that has surprised many around baseball just how well they played this year. And Carpenter draws a leadoff walk. Leads the club in that category and among leadoff men in the National League Central Division. Marlins defensively, Christian Yelich, he's a good one in left. Marcell Ozuna, a cannon in center field. That could be set for Giancarlo Stanton in right. Casey McGee, Adeiny Echeverria, he's at short. Jordany Valdespin, he's at second. Garrett Jones, the former Pirate, is at first, and Jared Saltalamacchia, the former Red Sox catcher, is behind the plate. Here's a look at Kolten Wong.
What a series Kolten had in Baltimore. 8 for his last 18, 4 for 5 yesterday, and he has cemented that #2 slot in the Cardinal lineup. I remember earlier in the year, Matt Holliday with 14 games batted #2, and he's the least likely of Cardinals to bat in that #2 hole.
0-1 pitch. May have chased a ball, and it's 0-2. That 4-hit game. Second time he has done that this season. And he has had 4 games with at least 3 hits this year. I remember doing games early on this season. I said to Tim McCarver, what do you think of Kolten Wong? He said, this guy could play. He's going to be pretty good, and he's been very good in the second half. So he strikes out here for the first out.
Boy, good curveball from Kohler. After walking Matt Carpenter on 5 pitches, strikes out Kolten Wong with 2 fastballs and a very good curveball.
Brings in Holliday, who's a .394 hitter against Miami. And so far this season, batting .264, 12 home runs, and leads the club in RBIs with 58. Matt with 6 home runs since the All-Star break, and he's driven in 20 to lead the club.
When you think of the Marlins pitchers in this ballpark, you think of very few home runs against them. They have not allowed a home run in this park in the last 9 games.
It's a big ballpark. You think doubles.
Yeah, you think gappers in this park, unless you're Giancarlo Stanton.
There is no ballpark that can hold him.
Yosemite can hold him.
It's 344 down the left field line. There's a look at Stanton. Down the right field line, 335. And out to center. It's a high wall and 418 to center field. Here's a 2-1. Hit out of play.
One thing different about Kohler is that his curveball is a knuckle curveball. You don't see too many knuckle curves anymore, but there was a picture of him in the Miami paper today. His approach with that middle finger, the point of the middle finger on that curveball really wraps it, and he has thrown one good one to Wong and a good one to Holliday.
Former Cardinals closer Jason Isringhausen had a very good knuckle curve, and that is taken high. And in his prime, throwing mid-90s with that 12-6 break, a traditional curveball, he was nasty. And they say when Kohler's right, and it's been hard for him to be consistently right for whatever reason, but when he is, very, very good. Last 2 starts at home, he's riding 14 consecutive scoreless innings at this ballpark. And another sparse crowd, as you may imagine, here in Miami. Early on, the ERA is 2.74 in innings 1 through 3, and then after that it rises over 5 as that's fouled back. And the runner was off with the pitch, and that's Carpenter.
You see that more out of starting pitchers. The first 3 innings, first time through the order, a major league team would have a tough time gauging a pitcher, but the second time you have a much better idea of what to look.
And that's inside. So the second walk issued by Kohler.
Your defenders can't defend walks.
And it drives everyone crazy. Manager, pitching coach, umpires. There's a look at Jim Joyce, the crew chief, involved in that controversial play that allowed Alan Craig to score an interference. The World Series last year, he was a third base umpire at that time, called it right away. And recently,
nailed it.
Yep. And recently, Tim, and I say recently, within the last couple of years, voted the best umpire by the players. And Adams crushes this out to center field. Ozuna makes the catch. Very good athlete in center field. We get to see this team throughout spring training, and Marcell Ozuna can run. He's got power, tremendous arm that I spoke of earlier, and trying to make adjustments in his young career, but a very good athlete in center.
He glides over to get this one, but again, the problem with early walks from a pitcher, you get the power guys up. Matt Adams looking middle of the plate, he got it and hit it hard, but Ozuna tracked it down.
Here's Peralta, 3 hits yesterday, hitting .207 with runners in scoring position, and that's improved. For the longest time, he was around 150 to 175 with runners in scoring position this year. Picked up a pair of doubles on Saturday, leads the club in that department with 29. Two runners on and a 1-0 pitch. Peralta with a fly ball, and Stanton under it. Cardinals strand 2 at the top of the first. Shelby Miller to the mound when we come back. In Miami, and there's no score. Let's meet Mike Redmond's lineup tonight. Christian Yelich will lead it off, then Jordany Valdespin, Giancarlo Stanton this season. Cardinals held him in check. You may remember the 4th of July weekend. They took 2 of 3 against St. Louis. Then Casey McGee, Garrett Jones, Marcell Ozuna, Jared Saltalamacchia, Adeiny Echeverria, And the pitcher, Tom Kohler. They'll face right-hander Shelby Miller. '23-year-old making his 24th appearance and second against the Marlins this year. His numbers presented by Kia.
Yeah, Shelby had 19 starts, and then he was put in the bullpen for a period of time right before the All-Star break. And I think that shook him up a little bit. I think it made him mad. I'm not sure Mike Matheny was thinking that when he put him down there, but Shelby's been a different pitcher his last 3 starts. And I believe, even though he had that shutout against Toronto earlier in the year, I think his last start last Wednesday against his buddy Joe Kelly was his best start of the year.
Joe Kelly will start for the Boston Red Sox tomorrow night against Cincinnati. Reds with the night off, and here's a look at Yelich. And he takes a ball outside, leads their club in stolen bases with 13 and hitting .267 this year. I'm sure it was eye-opening, too, to see his buddy traded and then 2 starters brought into the rotation. And it's just kind of a message that, hey, we mean business, and, you know, don't be too comfortable. And I'm not saying that Shelby was, but to everybody.
Well, to assume that a young man who has a good arm is a good pitcher is a fallacy. It's been proven time and time again. Some guys are forced to be pitchers instead of throwers. Shelby Miller's trying to make that transition of becoming a thrower, or going from a thrower to a pitcher. In the last 3 games, he's done that.
Slapped the other way, a base hit. Over to get it, Holliday. And Yelich leads it off for Miami with a stand-up double. Cardinals defensively tonight. Brzezinski is behind the plate. Left side of the infield features Carpenter and Peralta. Wong and Adams on the right side. In the outfield, John Jay in center. Taveras is in right. Holliday in left. Around the horn, brought to you by Dobbs. Marlins have used 7 different players at second base this year. Valdespin squares and takes a ball. I think the other thing that really stood out, to further your point, Tim, last week about Shelby Miller, he had one of the better breaking balls we had seen him throw.
Absolutely. Good breaking ball, and he's walked 1 man in his last 3 starts. Covering what? 20 1/3 innings.
Here's a 1-0 pitch. Valdespin showing bunt. 1 ball, 1 strike. Last 3 starts have also featured A.J. Brzezinski behind the plate.
And it's aggravating when a guy waves that bat, the barrel of the bat, in front of the catcher's face. Infuriating. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's perfectly legal, especially if a guy's running from first.
Showing bunt again, the 1-1. Push towards Carpenter at third. Sacrifice is good. 5-3 on the sacrifice, and it brings in Stanton.
I know Stanton's a great hitter. I know he's a threat. He's the strongest man in baseball pound for pound, but I don't think that's a good play. The reason Stanton struck out 134 times, and a strikeout is what a guy like Shelby Miller is going to try to do in this situation.
And the man on deck, Casey McGee, hitting .342 with runners in scoring position.
Yeah.
Outfield is deep for Stanton. Infield is drawn in. Interesting to see that.
Yeah. Well, that Mike Matheny has proven that he will do that in the early innings. He did it in that Boston series last week, and that proved to be a big play. What do you have to lose?
The 0-1. Stan with a fly ball out to deep right. Taveras back. 2-0 Miami.
Home run number 30 on a fastball outside part of the plate. And there is no part in this ballpark, or any park, out of which he cannot hit a ball. My goodness, that takes strength.
16th home run allowed by Shelby Miller.
But still, in the process, they scored 2 runs. But to me, they gave up an out.
Yeah. Casey McGee, the number 4 hitters on either side, have not produced with home runs. The Marlins with just 5 from their cleanup spot. The Cardinals just 8. And McGee has had a bounce back season. Some believe an all-star campaign. There's a good cutter by Miller. 0-2 the count. Casey McGee in that series over the 4th of July went 7 for 13 against St. Louis. And he drove in 3.
One of those runs driven in to tie the game in the 9th. They won it in the 10th.
The 0-2. Spent last year in Japan.
You know what he learned to do over there? Go the other way. Hit the ball to right field with 2 strikes.
Hits it to right field with 2 strikes.
It's funny, another guy in our experience was a guy who learned how to hit in Japan, but he learned how to hit for power in Japan, and that was Charlie Manuel. The ex-manager of the Philadelphia Phillies used to love to talk about it. But it's rare that a guy like Casey McGee, who was a pretty good player before he went to Japan, is a better player coming back.
Right.
And a big reason for that is going to right with 2 strikes, and he'll talk about it proudly.
Here's Garrett Jones, former Pirate. And he also talked about becoming a better hitter against the breaking ball. And McGee was saying over the series in St. Louis about how many of those curveballs and off-speed pitches you see in Japan as opposed to Major League Baseball.
Yeah, how many curveballs or sliders from a right-handed pitcher to a right-handed hitter are designed to go inside? All are designed to go away. So wouldn't it make sense to go away with it?
Exactly.
To have the barrel of the bat follow the ball away. When you pull off of pitches like that, you just think about the logic of it. The ball's going away and you're going toward third. So the ball can't hit the fat part of the bat.
Sure.
But when you hit the ball the other way, as the ball is going the other way, that's the formula. Is it going to work all the time? Of course not. Pretty good approach, though.
But the approach is different.
That's right.
There's a curveball, tap foul, 1-2. Garrett Jones was the everyday first baseman with the Pirates, and then they needed help in that category. They went out and got Justin Morneau this time last year. And now it's Ike Davis in Pittsburgh. He's 7 for 13 against Miller, pair of home runs, and he has driven in 5. The 1-2. Miami last year 62 and 100, 5th in the National League East. They overhauled their roster and their front office. Last year, half of Miami's roster and their regulars were age 30 or older. There's the breaking ball, swung on and missed, and staying put at first. It's McGee.
I think Garrett Jones thought he fouled the ball off. Here comes Mike Redmond. That is not reviewable, however. It's also something you really can't get help on because you're the umpire that's closest to it.
Sure.
So if anybody's going to hear it, you are. Certainly hit the ground. Good play by Brzezinski, keeping the ball out in front. If he foul tipped that ball, it had to be on the hop.
You would have to think, Tim, when that kind of call too, the catcher's going to know, home plate umpire, even if he's blocked but can hear it, and those that are out in the field, the speed of the game, you know, we watch it in slow-mo with the speed of the game, very tough to pick up.
Well, Garrett Jones is going to get no help from A.J. Brzezinski.
You think?
A.J.'s not going to say, hey, wait a minute, he fouled that ball.
Right. So Jones a strikeout. There's Mike Redmond, the former Major League catcher. There are now 9, including Redmond and Matheny, former Major League catchers that are managing in the big leagues. Redmond had no previous managerial experience, and neither did Mike Matheny. That's on a play off the bat of Ozuna.
But, you know, Dan, when you think about it, it's almost, even though you had no experience, you had experience in one vital area, and that's pitch selection and what a pitch does when it goes over the plate or goes. In other words, his pitching experience allows you to handle pitching and all the other situations that are involved, bunt plays, things like that. You've already seen these time and time and time again from a catcher's position. And that's really why catchers have the better chance to be a manager, because they view the game the way we do up the booth.
Is handling the bullpen, do you think, the toughest aspect of that job?
I think handling starting pitchers and making sure your starting staff. Of course, the bullpen's vital nowadays, and it's changed the game in many, many ways. But I think still naming your starters, and Redmond has a tough time with that.
Right.
As a matter of fact, they may have a different starting pitcher 6 nights in a row this week. But it helps in all phases of the game, really.
Here's a 1-2 pitch to Marcell Ozuna. The check swing did not go. 2-2.
Take other positions. A pitcher has tunnel vision toward home plate. He really doesn't. He doesn't know what the guys. He can't see the breaks of the guys behind him. The 4 infielders, the 3 outfielders. Can't see the jumps they get on the ball. That's all ingrained in catchers. You see it without even thinking about it.
Sure. So the numbers there for Ozuna, his last 9 games, hitting 129, and he strikes out looking with a fastball in the outside corner. Stanton now at 30 home runs, RBIs 80 and 81. Opposite field shot after an inning. Miami on top. City of Miami and the Marlins with a lead of 2-0 as we move to the second inning. We say good evening to Pat Paris. And Pat, interesting lineup from Mike Matheny's club. Oscar Taveras, highly thought of prospect, and he's batting 8th tonight.
Yeah, and Mike Matheny just said, I want to get the guys that are swinging the bat the best higher up to get more at bats. So in this case, it's John Jay in the 7-hole. Oscar Taveras struggling a little bit right now, although he's got 7 hits in the last 9 Cardinal games. I talked to Oscar about it. He said doesn't matter where he hits in the lineup. And yes, We all know his swing can get a little long at times. He's working on some minor adjustments, but no major differences as Oscar Taveras makes his way here in his rookie season.
A.J. Pierzynski at the plate. And Pat, this is his 40th ballpark he's played in at the major league level.
Yeah, I talked to him as well. I said, what is this longevity thing? You know, a reason, a byproduct of just being in the majors a long time to get to 40 parks. And he said, yeah, that, and I came in at a time where all these new ballparks have come along. So that's why he's been now to 40 of them. But an irony, an ironic twist for him is the only time that he's played the Mets was when he was with San Francisco in 2004. And when he became a long-time White Sox for 8 seasons, they never played the Mets. So he never got a chance once Citi Field came around to get a chance to play there. So that's the only ballpark left is Citi Field.
All right, Pat, thanks. And this is a unique ballpark designed by Jeffrey Loria. And he started the design of this ballpark just putting down some of his ideas on a napkin, having lunch in London. And it is obviously paying tribute to the city of Miami. And Pat mentioned the retro ballparks as Jay hits it out of play. He said he did not want this to be a retro park. And partner, it's not.
No, it's not. I love it. I think it's zany. It's interesting. It's unusual. It's unlike any other major league park.
Sculpture you just saw cost $2.5 million, and at the time when this sculpture was being built, there were only 3 players on their roster that had a higher salary than that sculpture.
Oh, that's great. What
and I'm not kidding. This is put in play to short. Echeverria, 2 down. The AT&T fan photo. Send us a photo using the hashtag STLFanPhoto. We'll show one of those later in our telecast. And it brings in Oscar Taveras. Pat gave you some of the numbers and what he's done. In August, 7 for 31 and just 1 for his last 10. Tough series and tough way to start the road trip in Baltimore. 2 outs and nobody on. We saw the Orioles, and we picked up on it last week. Teams are just pounding Oscar Taveras with the fastball.
No breaking balls. That's right. And also we noted that Oscar is fouling a lot of balls off the other way. Now that obviously is a sign that the bat is not getting to the ball out front. If he were pulling balls foul, that'd be a different situation. Foul down the right field line, not down the left field line.
Back-to-back breaking balls have missed. 2-1 the count. You just have to believe the track record has been so good now, albeit in the minor leagues, but he will hit. The 2-1. Diving stop by Valdespin, and he robs Oscar Taveras. Valdespin, outstanding play to his left to take a hit away from Oscar Taveras. We're through the top of the second. Marlins coming up in the home half. And Kohler, 7, 8, and 9 for the Marlins here in the bottom of the second. The Chris Carpenter bobblehead is coming up this Friday. And 25,000 fans ages 16 and older entering with a ticket receive that bobblehead of the great Chris Carpenter, and that'll be this Friday. It's also a Hall of Fame weekend. The Cardinals Hall of Fame inductees at ceremony Saturday morning. Marion, Shannon, Edmonds, and McGee. $18 available. A ticket for you. You'll walk away with a Hall of Fame print and this month's edition of Cardinals Magazine, which highlights the Hall of Famers. Jared Saltalamacchia, first pitch and a fly ball out to left. One pitch, one out. I know we've been talking about this shortstop of the Marlins and about his defense. His offense, no home runs, 22 steals, or rather RBI, 7 steals, but his average at 275, which is third best among National League shortstops. Great range, great defender.
The Marlin players talk about him, saying that every game it seems like he does something extra special at that position. He is something.
Hitting above 308 at home, and against the Cardinals 321. 1 ball and 1 strike. He was part of the big Blue Jays and Marlins deal 2 years ago. Jose Reyes going to Toronto, part of that deal, and Echeverria from north of the border to South Miami.
How about the Orioles? They are 5 games in first place in the American League East. Toronto in second place, 5 games out. The Yankees in third, 6 back.
And no Boston.
No. Boston last 15 games out of first place. Biggest story in baseball right now. Kansas City.
What a story they have become.
I'm telling you. They're a half a game behind the Detroit Tigers. Winners of 7 in a row.
Detroit is at Pittsburgh tonight. Justin Verlander against Jeff Locke. And Pittsburgh is a half game back of St. Louis and 2.5 back of Milwaukee. Into right center, and Jay is there, positioned perfectly. It's been 28 years since Kansas City has been in postseason play. And let's turn to our Toyota keys to the game with nobody on and 2 outs in the home half of the second.
Rough first inning, giving up the 2-run home run to Giancarlo Stanton. But Shelby Miller hoping to settle down and have the same stuff as he had his last 3 starts.
Kohler is hitting 057 and looks at a ball high. Shelby Miller, the 23-year-old, is looking for win at number 25 of his career tonight. 1 ball and 1 strike. Faced the Marlins earlier this year. Took a no decision. Gave up 3 runs in 5 1/3. Three strikeouts tonight for Shelby Miller. First time through the lineup. And he'll lead it off in the 3rd when we come back. the top of the third. And Fox Sports Midwest and the Cardinals bring you Mizzou night at the ballpark on August 15th. That's when the Cardinals battle the Padres. Buy your Mizzou themed tickets at cardinals.com/theme. And you'll get a limited edition Cardinals hat. Get your tickets, wear your black and gold. We'll see you at Mizzou night on August 15th. Shelby Miller will lead it off for the Cardinals against Tom Kohler. The beautiful ballpark, Tim McCarver, but yet not a lot of fans. And that has been really the lasting tradition here the last let's say 10 to 15 years, is that they just do not draw.
Cardinals opened this ballpark, right?
That's right.
2 years ago.
Kyle Loesch made the start. It was in 2012.
2012, right. Yeah, and the first year, I mean, you've got to give Jeffrey Loria, the owner of this ball club, credit, because he really tried to field a representative club with all those free agents, Jose Reyes, Mark Burley. And it just didn't work out. So he got rid of all of the big names that he signed, loaded the team with young players. They didn't draw, lost 100 games last year, but have improved this year and have a dynamite farm system.
Yes, they do. Began play as the Florida Marlins, 1993 at Sun Life Stadium. You may remember that Major League Baseball wanted to move to Florida, and really the only question was whether Wayne Huizenga could beat out Tampa Bay and Orlando. It was thought that either one of those cities would take home a new MLB franchise, and it wound up going to Huizenga and the Florida Marlins at the time, now the Miami Marlins. The strikeout of Shelby Miller. Second strikeout for Tom Kohler. And here's Matt Carpenter, who started it off with a walk back in the first.
I'm about to tell you something that you don't know.
That won't be hard.
I was a member of the Miami Marlins at one time. In 1961, we were the AAA affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals, the Miami Marlins. We folded before spring training was over and became the Puerto Rican Islanders. And then we played in Puerto Rico for 2 months and moved to Charleston, West Virginia, and they didn't have a nickname for the Charleston Ball Club, so we became the Charleston Marlins.
The Charleston Marlins.
Nobody in Charleston knew what a Marlin was. There wasn't a Marlin 1,500 miles from Charleston, West Virginia. That's a true story. Joe Schultz was the manager.
Was he really?
Yes.
Wow.
What a year.
So you go from South Florida, Puerto Rico,
right,
to West Virginia.
Right.
Makes sense.
In the International League.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, perfect sense. Joe Ryan, an old minor league owner, was the owner of that team, and it was a zany year, to say the least.
Carpenter in the air. Long way to go in left for Yelich. A sliding catch in foul territory, and what a play.
Fascinating how he went after that ball. It wasn't a slide that he caught turning the glove up. It was a slide that he took catching the ball toward the ground. Yelich is 6'5". He's very tall. Ideal baseball body, those long life muscles. Good play by Christian Yelich, the left fielder.
They believe he could be their everyday center fielder. But with Ozuna here, they're giving him a chance to play and see if he can be a productive major league center fielder day in and day out. They know Yelich in their mind can be, so he's in left.
Yelich doesn't have the arm for center. That's
right.
The only thing.
Right. Here's Kolten Wong, who struck out on a curveball back in the first. Some good defense early on by the Marlins. You had the diving stop by the second baseman, Valdespin, and then that sliding catch moments ago by Yelich. There's a tight breaking ball again. Third strikeout. and 2 have been against Kolten Wong. The catch in the Hyundai replays. We head to a timeout. Is brought to you by Schnucks, your neighborhood hometown grocer for 75 years. And by 5 Hour Energy, recognizing those who, despite their own needs, put others first. We are immediately west of downtown Miami, located on the south side of the Miami River. A beautiful night for baseball. Little Havana. And Havana, the largest capital, largest city in Cuba. Residents of Cuba and many from Central and South America are living in this area. And this beautiful ballpark, smack dab in the middle of everything.
Some of these high rises here in the Miami area, bought by Europeans and South Americans. It is a thriving community. They were worthless about 10 years ago.
Right.
They came in, swooped in, and bought them all up. They call them see-throughs because you could see all the way through the apartments to the river on the other side.
Another good fastball to Christian Yelich. 1, 2, and 3 in the lineup for Miami. They lead it 2-0 on a Stanton home run.
Good curveball from Miller. That's a tight break. And that's a location. That's where you want it.
The 2-2. Adams, Miller to the bag. 1 away. It's 6 in a row he's set down. We talked about Pittsburgh, and they're playing host to Detroit. Milwaukee at Chicago tonight. The Cubbies. Milwaukee with a 2-game lead over St. Louis. Giovanni Gallardo and Jake Arrieta. That's a 4-game series. And Tim, the Brewers have been in first place of the Central since April 5th.
Wow.
I did not see that coming.
I don't think anybody did.
Yeah.
And the Brewers may even say they thought they saw it coming, but they didn't. They have played very, very well. The Cardinals 2 back, Pittsburgh 2.5, and Cincinnati 5 back now.
Valdespin sacrificed back in the first. And the Pirates put up a 5 spot on Justin Verlander. And they lead 5-1. That's in the second inning. Verlander just is not quite the same as we saw from a couple of years ago. He's still good, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah. You'd still take him in a playoff game in a second.
Yeah.
But he has really had problems.
We understand he was removed after 1 inning tonight. 1 ball, 1 strike on Valdespin. That's pulled foul. The Brewers missing Matt Garza. Ron Ronicky saying on Saturday they're not sure when he would come back, but it won't be after the 15 days on the disabled list. It's going to take some time for that oblique in his side to heal, and they're not going to push it. They'll face Kershaw and Greinke this weekend. It lines up for them in LA to face those two. And the Cardinals will have San Diego at Busch Stadium. Fly ball, right center, John Jay. You can catch all of the second half action of Major League Baseball on MLB.TV Premium. #1 live streaming sports service. Watch every out-of-market game live in true HD on over 400 devices. All you have to do is visit Cardinals.com for details. Looks like Miller's starting to settle in. We'll see here with Stanton. He's homered now in 4 of his last 5 games.
Right there. That was right there. If you're a pitcher and you think the plate's 17 inches wide, think of the outer 2 inches and the inner 2 inches. Those are outs. And think of the middle of the plate as hits. The good ones train themselves to do that, either from a visual standpoint. That precedes action.
And the home run early on now gives Stanton RBIs in 5 straight. Just missed. Good pitch.
You keep throwing it in that area, you'll get more outs than not to anybody.
And with the home run by Stanton, he's now 1 back of Hanley Ramirez for 2nd place all time in Marlins history. He's at 147. Ramirez at 148. The all-time leader in club history is Dan Uggla at 154. Mike Lowell, all-time leader in RBIs. Luis Castillo, little switch hitter that could slap it everywhere, leader in hits, and this one is crushed out to deep left. My goodness. Holy smokes. Wow. You can't hit a ball any further than that.
That is a spot where hanging curves to Giancarlo Stanton go to rest. Good gosh.
I'm not sure I've ever seen a ball hit that far. BP, yes. In a live game, no.
Maybe Mark McGwire and BP in 1998. Hanging curveball. My gosh.
Up on that deck, it's 427 just to the left of that.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's hit so many balls.
Left center, and Jay won't get that one. McGee on his way to second base. It's a 3-0 Marlins lead.
That ball had to go 470 feet.
Absolutely.
First home run was to right field. This one to left center field. Hanging breaking ball.
Well, this isn't good, as Chris Conroy, the Cardinals assistant trainer, along with Derek Lilliquist, out to check on Shelby Miller.
I didn't see anything, Dan, that denoted that Shelby was injured.
Maybe his neck. So 2 outs and a runner at second base. 3-0 Miami. And now it's Garrett Jones. I watched BP today. I didn't see anybody even get close to where Stanton hit that ball.
Well, we were both talking to Tommy Hutton, the Marlins announcer, ex-teammate back with the Phillies in the 70s, and Tommy was saying, you know, if you see Giancarlo Stanton taking batting practice, he rarely hits balls out of the ballpark. He'll work on his stroke the other way, which is the appropriate thing to do. Nobody took batting practice, in my experience, better than Dick Allen, who was a power hitter, but always hit the ball to the right side during batting practice, but not during the game. Crunch time.
Yeah, when McGuire was in his heyday, they'd open up the gates early. Dave McKay was his personal BP coach, and it was a show unlike anything you had ever seen.
Unlike any other.
Garrett Jones struck out his first time up. Breaking ball, drops in for a strike, and it's 2-1. The 2-1. There are ways that they calculate distance.
I don't know how they do it. And I don't know if it's as accurate as they, whoever they are, say it is all the time.
And if you go by it, for argument's sake, he is averaging 418 feet a home run.
That's just ridiculous.
It really is. And that is his 13th multi-homer game. And that makes him the franchise leader tonight with what he's done.
So that's 7,540 feet average.
Man.
30 home runs, 7,540 feet.
And really the biggest concern for the Marlins, and it seems like we say this every year, Tim, is trying to find protection behind him so he gets a chance to do what he's done twice here tonight.
They found it this year.
McGee has done that.
Yeah.
Jones to an extent. He's got 12 home runs and has driven in 43. The 3-2. Out to center. Jay on the move. Plenty of room and makes the catch. Back in the first, it was an opposite field home run. Wow. That's his second of the night. 3-0 Miami. 154. Then Stanton at 148. Reminder that John Hamm Night is coming up, and that is August 18th. Week from tonight at Busch Stadium. Fans who purchase this special themed ticket take home their very own exclusive John Hamm bobblehead. And you'll also be on hand for a special pregame ceremony and first pitch. Get your theme tickets right now. Cardinals.com/theme. They still have not announced the distance of the home run. I'm with you. It's got to be around 470 to 480 in that range.
He's 24 years old still.
Right.
148 home runs, and you're 24 years old. What?
Report last week said the Marlins had engaged his camp about an extension, and that the thought was more than likely it's not going to happen. Now he has come out and said publicly that he just wants to see that they're putting in winning pieces around him, and he'd like to stay. But if they're not going to do it, if there is going to be the fire sales of the past, he doesn't want to be a part of that. Here's a 2-1 pitch to Holliday.
But Rory McIlroy won his 4th major yesterday at age 25. Right? I think he's 25 or 24.
24, I thought.
He is 24.
But he might be 25. I'll check. But either way, guys that are in the primes of their career are ready. Here's a 2-2 pitch. And Holliday rips it out to right center field. That ball will get down off the wall. And Matt is digging into second base, standing up with a leadoff double here in the 4th.
We talked about it many times. When the Cardinals get that leadoff runner on, especially with an extra base hit, the chances of scoring 1-2 runs go up dramatically. It has not been necessarily the offense as far as getting runners on base, but when they get them on, those 2-out doubles, you know, it's going to take, for the most part, a hit to drive you in or some shoddy defense. But you get the leadoff batter on second base, got a chance to do something.
By the way, you're correct. Rory is 25.
I thought I'd read where he's 25, but I had that quizzical look from you, so I backed off.
You actually believed in it.
I did.
That was your fault. See, I could always turn this back on you, you know. Curveball drops in, 0-2. Stan, by the way, made history last year. He hit his career home run number 100 in just his 400th career game. I mean, that's pretty amazing, too. Ralph Kiner had done that. Joe DiMaggio, Eddie Matthews. He was the 8th fastest to get to 100. The man you knew quite well, Ralph Kiner. I mean, think about those names I just said, and Stanton is on that list.
Yeah. Hall of Famers all.
This comes on the anniversary of Babe Ruth's 500th home run that he hit, which happened today in baseball history, the first to get there. A swing and a miss by Adams. Strikeout number 4 for Kohler.
Here's that knuckle curveball again that just disappears, showing the illusion of a strike, but wasn't.
Here's Johnny Peralta. And you look at the Cardinals offense, you get that leadoff double, left-handed bat up. You'd love to see Adams drive him in, but he's got to be able to move the runner over. As Peralta takes a ball. Kohler, I mentioned, he's from the Bronx. He played at Stony Brook University. And Stony Brook is in Oyster Bay, Long Island. Established in 1957. We always say if they can find guys that play, they'll find you. Well, little old Stony Brook, which just made Division I affiliation, can now say they've got a major leaguer. And I know this from doing a NIT basketball game a couple of seasons ago.
Stony Brook appeared in it?
And Stony Brook made the NIT.
Really?
And they faced, at the time, Bruce Weber's Fighting Illini. And Bruce now with Kansas State. He threw out the first pitch at Busch Stadium last week. And the place, it was like being in a Final Four. This place was packed. I mean, it was the biggest
Stony
event.
Brook fans.
Yes. At Stony Brook. So the place was packed in one of the biggest games that they had ever seen, if not the biggest game they've ever had in school history. One to Peralta. I think both you and I have noticed that at times Kohler's had a very good put-away pitch with his breaking ball.
Yes, he has. You know, the thing about Tom is he has a slider and a curveball, and generally in baseball parlance, pitching coaches won't teach both pitches. That, of course, a fastball. They think one takes away from the other. But that talk stopped when Clayton Kershaw learned the slider.
All bets are off.
Yeah, all bets are off. Rick Honeycutt teaching Kershaw the slider, and oh, that is nasty. That's the knuckle curve to get Peralta.
5th strikeout for Kohler.
We were talking about the grip earlier. Here's that grip right there. A little tough to see it from because it was so quickly. Tom not giving us a good enough shot of that. But that, you saw how it finished.
Ooh, great movement. Now Pierzynski fly to center field. That's the changeup. The Marlins weren't sure what to do with Tom Kohler. Should he be in? This is during spring training. Should he be in the rotation? Is he more of a reliever? They've wanted him to be in the starting 5 because when he's got stuff like this, you can understand where they think he'd have success. Fastball driven into left center field. That ball is down, and Holliday will score. Pierzynski gets St. Louis on the board. RBI number 5 wearing the Cardinal uniform for A.J. Pierzynski.
Speaking of spring training, I bet you didn't think in the middle of August you'd be saying Pierzynski gets the
No,
Cardinals
sir.
on the board.
No. Furthest from my mind was A.J. Pierzynski at that time.
He got a fastball and did try to pull it, hit it hard into left center field, and Holliday scores easily.
This ball is hammered out to deep right off the bat of Jay. The Miami native has tied it up. His 2nd home run in this road trip.
I was kidding you about 2 months ago, saying that when a guy makes an out on the first pitch, major league announcers say swinging at the first pitch popped it up. But you never say that when he goes at it.
That's the positive,
deep.
right?
Isn't it wonderful?
You always hear me, Tim, say, I love the aggression, right?
That's great. I mean, John just hopping on that fastball inside and cranked it to right field.
First pitch, popped it up. First pitch, long one to right. This kind of, I think, is a microcosm to an extent of Tom Kohler's season. He has one blow-up inning, and this might be it right here. Taveras a base hit into center. They always talk about when you visit with those from the Marlins, They're not sure when it's going to happen. Could be first inning, could be the 8th, but this might be it here in the 4th.
I mean, throwing in the first 3 2/3 innings, some of the nastiest stuff the Cardinals have seen in some time. I mean, that knuckle curveball, they haven't seen anything like that I can remember. But John Jay sitting on that first fastball. Well, you talk about extension. John Jay from the area, and got to be very, very happy from Miami here. Wow, he hit that one. He's not going to hit a ball that much harder.
No.
We've seen 3 home runs in this ballpark, and saying earlier that this is a tough park in which to hit home runs.
Well, that's also, if you believe in announcers, you shouldn't.
Well, yeah,
right? It's
of
us.
Of course. It's our fault.
Here's Shelby Miller.
5 of the 6 runs scored in this game, home runs. Man.
You know, Stanton's opposite way, it is hard to hit an opposite field home run anywhere you're at for the most part. But here, just to the left of the bullpen, it's 392 to the alley in right center.
Yeah, so Stanton hit the ball the other way at over 400 feet.
And that's a base hit into right, and Stanton may throw out Miller. Fires to first, safe. He's got a very good arm, does Stanton, in right field.
And playing very shallow. But the thing about Shelby Miller, he can run. And he ran hard out of the box, knowing that Stanton has such a good arm. And Stanton loves to show it off.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen that a time or two. It doesn't happen often, but the base hit into right and you're thrown out at first. Kohler allows the double by Holliday into right center. Then 2 nasty curveballs to Adams and Peralta for strikeouts. Brzezinski the single into left center. 2-run homer by Jay. Base hit by Taveras to center. Base hit to right by Miller.
Yeah, the 2 strikeouts in this inning, nobody was going to hit those. Nobody in the National League is going to hit those pitches. The others, however, are going to be hit hard, and they have been by the Cardinals.
8th man to come to the dish is Matt Carpenter. He is walked, and then a sliding catch by Yelich in foul territory. His second time up, and he drives it out to center. Ozuna going back, plenty of room, and makes the catch. Cardinals strand 2, but they pick up 3, and in doing so, they've tied this game. John Jay, a 2-run shot. It's 3-3. And Echeverria. A 3-3 game as we head to the bottom of the 4th. John Jay, a 2-run homer. FoxSportsMidwest.com, your home for Cardinals coverage all season long. Log on for game previews, recaps, videos, and more. And And all the analysis from Stan McNeil. It's all at FoxSportsMidwest.com. As we know, Anheuser-Busch, a great sponsor of Cardinals baseball for so many years, and doing so again this season. We were just told that if you hit it to the Budweiser patio, those folks with a ticket up there have free beer the rest of the night. So, yeah,
I'd say there are about 250 people up there or so. 250, 300 SROs.
Well, if there's 250, it's going to be 251 and 252. Apparently, Tom Mee, our director, is left, and also Mike Helling, our producer. They're on their way up.
Happily imbibing. No, just checking. We're only kidding.
Apparently, Stanton has hit one over that Budweiser sign, and they think that that may be the furthest home run he's ever hit, and they're still trying to do the calculations on whether or not moments ago that was the furthest home run ever hit in this ballpark. But it's close to 500 feet. Cardinals have tied it up, and a new life for Shelby Miller as we move to the home half of the fourth. It's 3-3.
Oh, you're right there, Dan. I mean, if you're Shelby Miller, you say, hey, this is the first inning once again.
Now, this is unofficial. We just get this. Fox Tracks has put the distance at 484 feet. Here's a 1-1 pitch. That pitch right there on Ozuna could have been called a third strike on Stanton before he hit the home run.
That is a fair thing to say.
Here's a 1-2 off the end of the bat.
Yeah, we just talked about it, how that's where the money is if you're a pitcher. Those outside 2 inches, inside 2 inches. The middle 13 inches are the hitters.
Ozuna, another one of those young, talented Marlins. He's only 23, 6'1", 220 pounds. Stan, as you mentioned earlier, Tim, he's 24. You have Yelich, who came up at the age of 21. I mean, this is a very young trio that they have in their outfield. Fastball, and he blew it by him.
Jose Fernandez, 22 years old, with Tommy John surgery. Evaldi, a starting pitcher, 24, and Hechavarria, 25. There's that outside corner. Now the ball is up, granted, but if you work east and west as opposed to up and down, everybody, I mean, balls that are down go as far as balls that are up unless they're moving down. If you don't believe that, tees would be higher.
Good point.
I mean, you've seen golf balls go 380 yards off the tee right down the middle. But if you work east and west and work the corners, that's where your money is.
Jared Saltalamacchia. They barely can fit the name on the back of the jersey.
Armpit to armpit.
Average at 217 for number 39. They figured that Saltalamacchia would be the perfect fit at this ballpark. He had a ton of doubles last year while playing at Fenway Park. He's 30 years of age now and considered really a good gap hitter, switch hitter. But having a down season, that ball was down, wanted it up, and a base hit into center field.
Yeah, the curse of his height is what beleaguers Saltalamacchia. When you're that tall, he's 6'7". You're that tall, trying to give low targets, trying to make good throws, and unraveling that tall body. It goes against everything that catchers are taught to be quick. It's tough for him to be quick, and throwing has been his problem since he's come into the big leagues.
Surprise you that he's still a catcher with that body?
In a sense, yeah, it does. Or that he ever started out being one.
Sure. Hechavarria looks at a fastball and a strike as he fly to shallow right center, first time up. Oakland leads the American League West by 4 over the Angels. Tim told you Kansas City half game out back of Detroit. Baltimore leading the East, their biggest lead this late in the season since 1997. Goes the other way, and that ball is fair down into the corner. Saltalamacchia digging for third. They'll wave him in. Gets by Wong. It's a triple for the Marlins shortstop, and they're back on top 4-3.
Third base coach for the Marlins is Brett Butler. He was a marvelous base runner in his day and understands that he has the luxury of coming up the line because he can hold the runner late depending on the cutoff throw. Saltalamacchia not a fast runner. Now he picks up Butler, and Butler's more than halfway down the line going back to third there, and because of that poor relay throw. Tell you, whenever you have a lot of commotion, this is a Bobby Cox theory, you suicide squeeze immediately with the right guy.
First pitch.
First pitch, yes.
And a breaking ball strike. Kohler with 5 sacrifices this year, but hitting .057, struck out looking back in the second.
I talked to Bobby at length about that once, and he said whenever there's an argument with the umpire, whenever there's commotion on a field, a triple, things like that, put on the suicide squeeze immediately or as soon as possible.
And the idea being that maybe the focus is shifted slightly off of what's happening between the white lines.
Yeah, that's the idea. That you've got the defense rattled. The last thing they're going to think about is the suicide squeeze. Not true here. It's 0-2. I doubt, unless the count goes to 3-2, that they'll do that.
The 0-2. And a strikeout. 5th tonight for Shelby Miller.
Of course, in that situation, you've got YELICH coming up, and YELICH has hit 2 balls hard tonight. One was an out by Matt Adams at first, and he doubled down the left field line his first time up. This guy's a good-looking player.
Tim, they thought that those around the club, many of them, that he should have been up at the end of spring training of last year. Up the middle, 2-out base hit. 5-3 Miami. His second hit tonight.
Well, again, one of those middle of the plate fastballs. The velocity's there, the movement may be there, but the location is not.
Now Valdespin. Wonder what Bobby Cox thought about stolen bases right after that too. Pitcher rattled, maybe first pitch you're going.
Sure, that was almost a balk. That left leg was not cleared all the way by Shelby Miller.
Valdespin is sacrificed and flied out to center. Runner goes. Stolen base.
Call, partner.
14 stolen bases for Yelich. That has been a concern for the Cardinals at the beginning of this year, and it's gotten better, progressively better as the season has gone on, but a lot of steals off of Shelby Miller, even when Yadier Molina's behind the plate.
Yeah.
But just holding runners on. 2-0. Pitch number 75 of the evening for the Cardinal right-hander. Here it comes. How many times did you see, Tim, one of your pitchers start thinking ahead of the man on deck instead of the man at the plate? And in this case, Stanton with 2 home runs waiting on deck.
I don't think he's doing that because he threw Ballaspein a 2-0 curveball. I don't think that was the pitch in that situation. I think if there's anybody to challenge, it's this guy in this situation.
No doubt. And that's my point.
Yeah, I know it. You know, there was no chance when Shelby Miller is trying to pitch around Ballas' feet. Any other situation in baseball, there's no way that you could say that with all the assurity in the world.
Oh, yeah. Slap the other way, but Holliday is there, and Stanton has to wait until the 5th. Marlins pick up 2. They're back on top. It's 5-3. Kolten Wong is 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts. Holliday has walked and doubled and scored. Adams is 0 for 2 with a strikeout and is flied out to center. First pitch to Kolten Wong. You go from a team that has hit nearly 150 home runs this year in Baltimore, and then you come to this spacious ballpark. You're thinking, all right, pitching at a premium. And Wong hits it out to right. Stanton over. Oh, what a catch! Remarkable play from Stanton, and what a night he's had.
Been the Giancarlo Stanton show thus far tonight, and we're only in the 5th inning. 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, almost an assist at first, and that
catch. And Tim, you may recall in St. Louis, the series over the 4th of July, he had a rough series defensively against St. Louis. There were a couple of the plays that he probably should have made that cost them game 1.
Right.
And what a great catch that was on the track to rob Kolten Wong. That ball gets down, it's probably a triple.
Absolutely.
That's chopped foul. Here's the 0-2 to Holliday. Taken low. The artist formerly known as Mike in right field. Now Giancarlo. Here's a 1-2. Tails back in and low. Pittsburgh has opened up an 8-1 lead. That's in the bottom of the fourth over Detroit. We had a tough series in Toronto. And Milwaukee in the bottom of the second at Wrigley, a 1-0 lead. The 2-2. Base hit by Holliday. On base for the third time.
That's good hitting by Matt. Looking away, he got it away. Didn't try to pull it. Like outside part. Holliday, one of the more adept Cardinals at going the other way with 2 strikes.
Now Adams, and the Cardinals need to see him pick it up a bit. Including tonight, he's played in 29 straight. And just 3 RBIs in his last 13 games, and came in the second half, Tim, right around 230, his batting average, to drop it to 308 at the start of play. One ball and 1 strike. When the Marlins allow 3 or fewer, they are 40-5 this year. It's the best winning percentage in baseball. When they give up 4 or more, they're 17-55.
Tell you, this is a 5-3 ball game, and we have not seen anybody for either team up in the bullpen. That's unusual. As hard as some of these balls have been hit tonight.
The 2-1. Adams up the middle. Echeverria racing to the bag. Out there. Double play. You talk about some defense. My goodness.
All by himself.
Sliding catch by Yelich. Valdespin had a diving play. Echeverria the double play. Stan's catching right. Defensively, the Marlins on a roll here in game 1. Cardinals all-time saves leader, Jason Isringhausen. And now it's Stanton, who has homered twice last inning. An outstanding catch in right field. The defense tonight has been ridiculous by Miami.
Sparkling. I mean, for Echeverria to do what he did after he did what he did.
Yeah. Just to get to that ball.
Just to get to the ball and then to get to the bag. I mean, he had a long way to go to the bag, timed it perfectly with his right foot, and a strong throw to get Matt Adams and complete the double play.
This is one of those nights when you watch the game of baseball, whether you're a fan of either team, it doesn't matter.
That's right.
You walk away saying, wow.
Yeah.
Home runs by Stanton, the plays by Miami. It's fun to watch.
And what it takes to do what these guys do.
Third walk issued by Shelby Miller. The most 450 feet plus home runs. Stanton, well, in terms of distance, he's leading the pack of any other team in baseball. So he has 7 home runs that have been 450 feet or further than that. That's hard to comprehend.
It really is.
Now Casey McGee leads the league in double plays hit into, and that's his 22nd. One ahead of Albert Pujols. I asked you, I think it was off the air, I said, Tim, does Stan remind you of anybody you played with, played against, you've seen in broadcasting? And you basically thought about it for a moment. You said, he's his own man.
Yeah, I can't think of. Can you?
No. I mean, I think in terms of the prodigious home runs that he's hit, I think McGwire.
Yeah,
but this is a different player. He is from California, grew up as a football player, then
tight end.
Went to baseball and had a scholarship, I believe, to USC at the time.
Yeah, he could run. I mean, he has 10 stolen bases, has not been caught this year. He chose the right sport.
I'd say so. Just watch tonight.
Yeah.
Garrett Jones has struck out and fly to center. 3 balls and no strikes the count. We told you the numbers for Jones in his career against Miller have been very good. And he walked him. The second walk issued by Miller. Both have come in this inning. We check in with Pat Paris.
Well, Dan and Tim, you both remember the remarkable 1998 home run campaign of one Mark McGwire. Well, in consecutive games here at the old Miami Stadium, September 1st and 2nd, Mark McGwire hit 4 home runs, 2 in each game. The distances in order: 450, 472, 497, and 458. 4 home runs over 450 feet.
And you may remember at that ballpark, Tim, they weren't drawing, obviously. And they had the tarp up on the upper deck in left field. They had pretty good crowds, though, when McGwire was there, but not enough to fill up the ballpark. But those were landing on the tarp, and for anybody just to get it up to that area was ridiculous. Then to do it in live play, well, that's something else, too. I mean, it was just remarkable. And the one that Pat mentioned that was close to 500 feet, 497, was one that I'll never forget, because it was a ball that he hit, and more times than not he just put his head down, but that one he actually watched, and everybody was just jaw dropped, couldn't believe it. And you did his famous ball game and getting to 62.
September 7th, 1998, or 8th, might have been.
September 8th.
September 8th.
The Maris family there.
Yep. Shortest home run he hit all year.
Just over the wall and left. Tim Fernaris was the young man, part of the grounds crew that had the baseball. Could have sold it for 7 figures and decided to give it right back to Mark McGwire. McGwire said to him, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yeah, this belongs to you." That was it. Mark had it after the game and a presentation, and then there was still a race between he and Sosa. A 2-1 pitch to Marcell Ozuna with a runner at first and 2 outs.
Shelby has thrown 13 pitches in this inning, 3 strikes, and has 2 outs. He walked Stanton on 4 pitches, Jones on 4 pitches.
Two. Pulled foul. What was that like for you? You knew Roger Maris so well. I mean, was it an emotional?
Go to the ballpark every day with Roger in St. Louis.
Was it emotional for you even on a night like that, or is it a separate issue?
Well, I think it was emotional if you're a baseball fan, one way or the other. Yeah, I love Roger Maris. Loved him. Great player. We found out how good he was after the trade to the Cardinals in '67 and '8, and what he could do besides hit home runs. He didn't hit many home runs, but boy, could he play.
Miller gets out of the bottom of the 5th. 5-3 Marlins. In favor of Miami as we move to the 6th inning. 14 hits in this ball game, 6 for St. Louis, 8 for the Marlins, and 2 off the bat of Giancarlo Stanton. First time up, second time up. 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, and then in the 5th, this great catch to Rob Colton Long.
A one-man show for the Marlins, but the Cardinals still in there, only trailing by 2 with 12 outs left.
Now Peralta flied to right and has struck out. A breaking ball taken low. Tonight the hit speed off the bat of Stanton. There's a base hit out to left, and the tying run will come to the plate. Here's A.J. Pierzynski. It was back in the fourth that Kohler allowed a double, then struck out the next two. And then after that, 4 consecutive hits to get the Cardinals back in the game. And a ball that was hit hard to center. The Cardinals would strand 2, and now Saltalamacchia out to visit. And
Dan, just having our eyes visit the bullpen of the Marlins and the bullpen of the Cardinals. A left-hander up for St. Louis and a right-hander up for the Marlins. First time all night.
4 spots away as Sam Freeman gets loose from Shelby Miller, and there's a right-hander getting loose from Miami.
He's not noticed that those are tough trips to make for a catcher, you know, because the pitcher, if he thinks a little bit, he knows that the catcher's been told to come to the mound, not to say anything that's going to be constructive, but to buy time, and that's a tough visit.
Chris Hatcher is the right-hander getting loose for the Marlins. Mentioned the futility of the Royals. It's been 28 years since they've been in postseason play. And another check on Peralta. The last decade, one team in the National League has not made the playoffs. It's Miami. Won the World Series in 2003.
Even though you're trailing by 2, I do not think, and I think Pierzynski's going to get a fastball to hit. I don't think it's a bad thing. Normally, if you're trailing by more than 1, you don't put the hit and run on. I think it would be a good thing to do right now because Pierzynski hits into so many double plays.
We've also seen, Tim, he's aggressive early in counts.
He is. That's right. That's right. Real first ball hitter.
1 ball, 1 strike. And a base hit into right field. Peralta to second, and he'll stop there.
I asked A.J. about sitting out the rest of the year. I said, you know, you signed a $7.5 million contract. I asked him this at Cooperstown when I saw him up there. He said, why do you want to sign? Why do you want to play another half year? Your career is probably over after this year. He said, yeah. He said, but I want to play out the contract instead of sitting out the contract.
Interesting.
I thought that was a kind of a neat thing to say in this age where players are criticized for making a lot of money and all that sort of stuff.
Because if you walk away, it's still all his. It's guaranteed.
Right. It's guaranteed. Right. And you know, I'm not saying he'll definitely quit after this year, but probably.
He's 37.
Right. 17 years in the big leagues.
Mike Redmond, the slow walk out to the mound. Has not signaled to the bullpen just yet. And that'll be it for Kohler. Chris Hatcher, right-hander coming in from Miami to face John Jay when we come back. has not faced Miami since they were the Florida Marlins in 2010.
Wow.
And so Wainwright will go against Cozart tomorrow, and Adam looking for win number 15. He's 14-6, the great ERA, and that's our Budweiser What's on Tap. Chris Hatcher is into the ballgame. Our Chevy call to the pen. Hatcher at home in 17 innings, an ERA that's barely above 1. On the road, his ERA is close to 6 in 19 innings.
How do you figure things like that? It's just odd. But we have said earlier in the year that when pitchers pitch on their home mound, it is the same mound all the time, the same slope. Mounds have to be 10 inches high, but there are different slopes in different mounds. So I guess you explain it that way, but still, to have that much of a disparity, it is unusual.
First two reached off of Tom Kohler. And here is John Jay, who hit a 2-run homer to tie it up at 3 back in the 4th. Jay looked like he was showing bunt when Hatcher made his move towards second. You've got Taveras on deck.
Yeah, I wouldn't bunt here. That was a trick.
Let him swing away.
John may have picked up Hatcher moving and done that belatedly to get Hatcher to think he might be bunting.
You can just punch one through the left side. You've got McGee even with the bag and in a few steps.
And Jay can hit the ball effectively that way,
he
too.
He sure can. Echeverria trying to keep the runner close at second. Big hole left side.
You could almost play straight up with Peralta at second base. There is no chance Peralta will try to steal third base in a situation like this, particularly with a left-hander up, because a catcher's view is so unimpeded looking toward third base.
One ball and 2 strikes. 3+ arms in the outfield in Yelich, Ozuna, and Stanton. Maybe that one step or two could be the difference at the plate.
Sure, sure. Yeah, they have one of the best throwing outfields in the major leagues, particularly center and right.
Here's a 1-2. Popped up into shallow left center field. Ozuna makes the play. We'll see Taveras, and then more than likely a pinch hitter for Shelby Miller. Marlins have 2 lefties in their pen, Mike Dunn and Dan Jennings, who's coming off a concussion. Had a line drive that was hit off his head. Very scary situation for that lefty. Taveras was robbed by Valdespin on a diving stop from the outfield grass, the second baseman, and he singled to center. Tim, you've been talking a lot, not only about the bat being a little bit slow, but also where he's going to have success in the zone hitting, low or high.
Low. He's shown he's a good low ball hitter. That right there, that pitch was a little bit away. Without seeing Oscar in the minor leagues or in spring training, you could tell by his stroke. Most guys with slow bats or big swings, I should say, are low ball hitters.
1-1 the count, and that's what we've seen: fastballs and fastballs up. He's had issues with that. Here's a 1-1. Now take me inside the mind of a hitter here. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Fastball. You got to look for the
looking for that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
2 runners on.
Looking for something to drive.
Little tapper. Easy play, and Taveras retired. Runners advanced to second and third.
Well, experienced pitchers don't throw the ball any harder than the guys in the minor leagues. What they do is they play on your anxiety more than guys on in the minor leagues. Guys in the minor leagues are trying to make the majors, so they're strike throwing machines, even sometimes more than big league pitchers, because big league pitchers realize they can get you out on balls out of the strike zone. So if they realize that, they're going to continue to try to do it. That looked like a splitter or a sinker, and that ball clearly out of the strike zone. Matter of fact, he saw 4 pitches. All 4 pitches were balls.
So here's Descalso, coming off a tremendous series against Baltimore in which he was 5 for 7. No pinch hit for Shelby Miller, and a base hit could tie this game up. Freeman looks to be the next pitcher used by St. Louis. And that pitch in the dirt. It's so hard to play this game, as you know. He played for 21 years, but to come off the bench is another aspect of it, and then to come off the bench sparingly, and that's been the case with Descalso. With a couple of games that he gets to start in over the weekend.
It's a tough job, and you have to stay ready, and it is tough. One of the toughest jobs in the game.
1-0 pitch. Slowly hit. McGee charges, and he makes the play. Cardinals strand 2. They've left 6 on tonight. We're midway through 6. Marlins on top. That'll be this Saturday, Ballpark Village. General admission, it's only $18. And all the Hall of Famers that are in Cooperstown will be there. In addition to Mike Shannon, the Marty Marion family, Jim Edmonds, and Willie McGee. Tell you what, $18 to hear Willie talk for 7 minutes. That'll be a record. So you'll be in the Guinness Book of World Records there. Can't wait to see it. Should be a really fun morning. That's on Saturday, and everybody that comes down there, you get the special Hall of Fame print, also a collector's Cardinals magazine, and it's only $18, and the first ever induction of the Cardinals Hall of Fame, first class going in.
That's wonderful.
And that'll be this Saturday. Sam Freeman is our Chevy called to the pen, and this will be his 29th appearance. Saltalamacchia, switch hitter. It seems like Sam's had his best success, Tim, when he starts an inning, not necessarily coming in, but starting an inning.
Yeah. I agree with that. Because he pitches so sparingly in the bullpen, yeah, you rarely have a chance to see him. But the times we have seen Sam Freeman move from line to line on a hit ball, on a bunt, things of that nature, you almost can't believe it. I think he's the best fielding pitcher in the National League.
That's quite a statement.
But I don't think anybody knows it yet.
He made that play, that game that you and I were doing near the third base line. We thought he just let it roll foul. Picks up the ball, slides to it, gets up, turns, and throws a bullet to first on a play he had no business making.
Plus, he had the wherewithal on a bunt to let it fall, and that's a tough thing for a young pitcher to do. It takes a lot of courage to do that, because he figures that if he doesn't get an out, he's going to be criticized for it. Not so with Sam.
Gets his first strikeout in relief of Miller. We turn to the AT&T fan photo. I'm a big fan of Sam Freeman.
Yeah, I am too.
Bright future, and he's pitched well this year. We saw him in game 1 against Baltimore. He had 30 pitches on Friday night. He was roughed up, but everybody was roughed up. Echeverria, ground ball. Carpenter bobbles, stays with it, and makes the play. 2 down. I told the story before that Sam in college, he did spend a year, and KU was also at Marshall, but he was a center fielder. And if you go to Sam, he'll tell you, Dan, right now I could be playing center field. I had the speed, I could hit a little bit, but all pitchers think they can hit.
Yeah, of course, but he's just a delightful guy, and just again, I don't think people realize how good an athlete he is. Once he releases the ball, the Cardinals have 8 fielders between the lines, I'll tell you.
Think of Greg Maddux and the most Gold Gloves ever won, 18. We saw our friend Jim Cott, who was sensational, 16. We saw him on Friday night, part of the '82 World Championship team. He told me that he is writing a book, and one of his primary subjects is a guy named Tim McCarver.
Oh.
Did you know this?
No, I did not.
Maybe I let the cat out of the bag. I'm serious. You're giving me that funny look.
I guess that's what happens when you're the best man in a man's 2 weddings.
2 weddings.
2. Yeah, I'm 2 for 2. $11 years apart.
Let's not go for 3 for 3.
No, I wouldn't do that to Marge.
Now that's funny.
Well, it's a fact.
It is a fact, but I'm laughing. Good work by Sam Freeman as he strikes out 2.
We'll have to talk.
Cardinals, brought to you by Farmland Foods. And here's a look at the upcoming schedule. The opponent's winning percentage. Tough stretch coming up, in particular over the weekend for Milwaukee. We talked about that. They'll have the Dodgers, and Greinke and Kershaw are scheduled. Pittsburgh, they've got Detroit, Washington, Atlanta, Milwaukee. Not easy. And the Cardinals, after San Diego, will play a stretch of games minus the Phillies that keep them in the Central basically until about the middle of September. So
I've seen too many of those charts like that explode, though, the last month of the season or last month and a half, saying, well, they're not, you know, or if so-and-so, if they win so many games, then all the Cardinals have to do is play 500 to be in the wild card hunt. You know, all of those things, you know, the formulas of from mid-August on, and they can backfire and explode on you in a second.
Mike Dunn, a hard-throwing lefty, is in for Miami. Tim McCarver, Dan McLaughlin with you, and also Pat Paris is here.
Mike Dunn, the only left-hander in the bullpen for the Marlins.
And he will get Matt Carpenter. I'll tell you what's interesting is that if you go by projections right now, there are 4 teams on pace for 90 or more wins. That's it. 4. A's, Angels, Dodgers, Orioles. Last year there were 11 at 90 or more. I mean, that's saying something. You know, the winning is down, and it's really bunched up the way that you look at some of the divisions and the wild card race. Talked about it. Miami hovering around the 500 mark as Carpenter strikes out, and they've got a chance to, an outside chance to make postseason play.
Good slider from Dunn to get Carpenter.
Brings in Colton Wong, who struck out twice and was robbed by Stanton back in the 5th on the track in right field. Good slider again.
I'll tell you, hitting is a lot tougher now in the last 3 innings of baseball than it's ever been.
Specialization.
With the matchups, yep, and Tony La Russa had a lot to do with that. Pioneering that as late as the late 80s.
Ground ball to second. Wong is out number 2.
That's an unseemly long stride for Mike Dunn. Not that tall a guy. He's only 6'1", maybe. Actually only 6 feet tall.
Remember when we pointed out the leg drive of Tim Lincecum earlier this year?
Yeah, yeah.
Where he generates his power from the lower half as Holliday rips it into right center field. Extra bases coming up, and what a night for Holliday. He's on base for the 4th time. 3 hits, 2 have been doubles to go along with a walk. And again, the Cardinals have the tying run coming up.
2 have been doubles to right center field and a 2-strike single to right field. So Matt using the right part of the ballpark tonight for a right-handed hitter.
Last home run for Matt Adams was that weekend series in St. Louis against the Dodgers, a game that you and I did off of Zach Greinke. So it's been a while.
Hit in the 1st inning.
That's right. Cardinals put up 4 that inning and won the game. And he gets a fastball. Fewest home runs hit by the number 4 hitters in a lineup. Marlins at 5. Cardinals have 8. Arizona with 10. Here's the 0-1. That's something that Adams has really improved upon this year, what he's done against left-handed pitching. In the hole, 1-2. Mike Dunn came in, struck out Carpenter. Wong grounded out to second, a double by Holliday. And now a 1-2 pitch to Matt Adams. Echeverria robbing Adams of a base hit and turned that into a double play back in the fifth. One of the best we've seen turn this year. He's near the bag at second again. A 2-2. Popped up left side. Casey McGee. Time to stretch. Miami leads it by 2. Here's a look at the Mazda game summary. 5-3 in favor of Miami. Shelby Miller goes 5 innings. Jay is 1 for 3 with a 2-run homer. Tom Kohler, 5 innings, 8 hits, 3 earned, and Stanton a big night, pair of home runs. Good test for Sam Freeman here. Yelich, Valdespin, and then we'll see Stanton. Yelich 2 hits tonight, runs scored, and a 2-out RBI and a stolen base back in the 4th. Second inning of work for the Cardinals lefty. First 19 years they played at Sun Life Stadium. 2012 they opened up this ballpark. The 2 World Series in their history, 1997 and 2003 for the Marlins, as there's a bunt drop down, a race to the bag. Freeman, you talk about an athletic play, there it was.
Even though Yelich won the race, what Sam had to do, because he turned around when Yelich bunted the ball, Matt Adams was creeping in. Watch this play. Watch him. Actually, he didn't turn around. He took that 1 step toward home, and that may have cost him instead of breaking right to the bag. But still, you get the idea. I mean, Sam Freeman can flat move after he releases the ball. But a bunt base hit for Yelich.
Here's Valdespin. The sacrifice, fly to center and lined out to left. See how aggressive Mike Redmond wants to be. The lefty on the mound. Brzezinski behind the plate, his best base stealer at first.
I think you bunt here as opposed to letting Yelich run.
If you bunt,
but
Yelich
doesn't matter. You've got McGee hitting behind him with the 2-run lead. I'd take my chances there. You're talking about Stanton.
Yeah.
You got to walk him. Well, you're going to pitch to him. You're not going to pitch to him anyway.
So might as well walk him.
I mean, it's like Shelby Miller the last time he faced him. He threw him 4 balls out of the strike zone.
1-0 pitch. 2-0.
Well, one way or the other, Sam's got to throw strikes to Valdespin. I just think the odds of running against the left-hander are not good enough in this situation.
2-1. Just thinking ahead a bit for the Cardinals. They've got Peralta, Brzezinski, and Jay coming up. That's in the 8th. And Steve Cishek is sidewinder, their closer, and a good one, waiting for the 9th. Here's a 2-1 pitch. Two and two.
Tell you, I like this move by Mike Matheny. He doesn't have anybody ready in the bullpen, and if Stanton comes up, he's going to face Sam Freeman. It's something you'd never do if the guy was you'd never leave a right-hander in for a left-handed power hitter, but you wouldn't mind leaving in a guy like Freeman to face Stanton, because right-handed hitters don't hit left-handers, generally speaking, like left-handed hitters hit right-handers.
It's one of the oddities of the game.
It's odd. I know it. I know it's weird.
I was thinking the same thing. I looked out there, no one up. You would think with those righties coming up, that would be the time to do it. Here's another 2-2 pitch to Valdespin. Slapped the other way, and somehow that stayed fair. And now with 2 runners on, Stanton coming up. So a bunt base hit and a ball that's fisted the other way.
I'll tell you, Dan, it takes courage to do this if you're a manager, because a lot of people don't understand that right-handed hitters, I mean, let's face it, you're facing Stanton regardless of who you bring in. It's going to be a tough assignment, but a lot of right-handers just don't pick left-handed hitters up as well as left-handed hitters pick right-handers up. So a gutsy move by Matheny.
And the first pitch is strike. The Marlins offense was so poor a year ago, they had one player on their roster that had more than 20 doubles. Think about that. Just one with more than 20, and that was Stanton. He's homered twice tonight. Now up to 31. And he hits it out of play, so it's 0-2.
Well, after all that, we checked with the truck to find out what Stanton was hitting against left-handers. 365 this year.
So go figure, right? You know what, though? Sometimes if you're a manager, you've got to go with your gut.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We'll see if this move pays off.
Just don't throw him a strike here.
0-2. Pitch that was up at 95 and popped foul and out of play. Last year was a down year by his standards. Stanton had 24 home runs, 62 RBIs, only 116 games. Remember, he missed some time. And those 24 home runs accounted for a fourth of the Marlins total. The 0-2. Good pitch. Enough to entice him.
Yes. Challenge when you're behind. Tease when you're ahead.
The 1-2 from Sam Freeman. On its way to the backstop. Pierzynski has a play at third, and they throw it away. A run will score. Valdespin waved in, then stopped. It's now a 6-3 Miami lead.
Well, a matter of a battery trying to do too much. Sam Freeman trying to do too much, overthrowing Pierzynski. The ball bounding back to AJ. And because he had it quickly, he threw to third, threw it errantly, and Yelich scores with Valdespin going to third base.
The last second, Brett Butler held him up. Initially had him waving him in. Time called by Pierzynski. The count is 2-2. Wild pitch, throwing error. 6-3 Miami. Infield in. And he got him. Expanded his own, and a strikeout of Stanton. And for Sam Freeman, his third tonight.
That looked like a split finger fastball or a changeup from Freeman, well out of the zone, and Stanton down for the first time tonight. First out he's made against the Cardinals.
The man on deck is Garrett Jones, who has hit 168 a year ago against lefties. He was basically platooned in Pittsburgh, and now you deal with McGee.
Yeah, I get your drift, and I don't think it would be bad to walk him intentionally either.
How do you know I'm always thinking these things? Because that's what I was thinking. Force the hand. Mike Redmond. Back to Freeman. Runs back the runner. And the tag was applied.
Now, Brett Butler
from Corey Blazer
and Mike Redmond both are out to argue. I think Redmond will ask home plate umpire Corey Blazer to get some help from Doug Eddings. I tell you, Sam Freeman did the right thing by not going back. Once he thought he made the tag, he said, "I got him," but did he? I think he did.
I do too.
I think that was a swipe tag over the left side of the oblique.
Boy, you're getting technical now.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're medicinal up here. What can I tell you?
Thought I may have seen the glove.
I thought the same thing. I thought he was out.
Mike Redmond, about a week ago, had a play that was reviewed on a play at the plate. Went against his club, and I mean, he went berserk. And then in his postgame, he was ejected, went berserk again. He's been frustrated with instant replay.
He got him. Oh, yeah, he got him easily.
Yep.
But why didn't the third base umpire make that tag? He's looking right at the play. But the home plate umpire makes the call when he tagged him with his body and with the glove.
Yeah.
You know, the body between the glove and the home plate umpire.
And you would think the body blocking the view.
Yeah, yeah.
Runner goes, and Freeman not paying attention at all to Casey McGee, and now Jones has a chance to add to this 6-3 lead. Fourth stolen base for McGee. You were talking about it earlier. When you have confusion on the field, sometimes you're not thinking about the next play. And
it's a good point. Yep.
That just happened to Sam Freeman. The slider taken low. Not a team known to run. Tonight they have a stolen base. They have 45. The 1-1 pitch to Jones. .30 pitches Friday, 31 tonight for Sam Freeman. The 1-2 pitch. 4 strikeouts in 2 innings of work for Sam Freeman. We head to the 8th. Cardinals trail by 3 runs. Baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. Let's go to our studio with a Bomberito Sports Update and Jim Hayes. Jimmy. BJC Healthcare difference makers. Jose Fernandez out for the year. Tommy John surgery. Michael Wacha. Cardinals, Tim, still hoping that Michael Wacha, who was the postseason hero of a year ago, would pitch as a starter in September. And he could be a difference maker. 2
of the finest young pitchers in the game. Jose Fernandez will not return until next year. And Cardinal fans obviously hopeful that Michael Wacha makes it back.
Brian Morris, we saw him with Pittsburgh before, and he's our Chevy call to the pin. Fernandez was the Rookie of the Year last year and 3rd in the balloting for the Cy Young Award. Cardinals trail by 3. Here's Johnny Peralta. We had a game too, Tim, in spring training where Jose Fernandez, he pitched. We threw the headset on during the game. He visited with us, and he was enlightening, fun, so well spoken, and then we just kept showing him inning after inning signing autographs for the fans, something that you always want to see. And at spring training you see some of the bigger stars occasionally do this, but he did it for 3 or 4 innings until everybody was satisfied with an autograph. I always like to bring those up because you hear the negatives about players, but there's a lot of positives too.
When you think about autographs of players in uniform, baseball is really the only sport where players are compelled, if not compelled, are asked to sign autographs. You don't do it in football. You don't do it in basketball or hockey. You don't do it in tennis. You don't do it in golf. Occasionally, a golfer may do it, but they're going from one hole to the other.
And you're talking about in the actual event?
Yes, yes.
No
in
question.
Uniform. In uniform.
Unless you're Terrell Owens, and then you carry the Sharpie in your sock.
That
you got a sock.
That happens occasionally, yes, bizarrely. If you're one of the ones who carries a Sharpie there.
Right. 3-1, a base hit into center. You know, that's a good point, though. I mean, guys are getting ready to play a game at 20 minutes before, 20 seconds before they're signing an autograph. Next time you're looking to pick up great seats to the game, head to StubHub, where you can earn 2% back in fan rewards on every purchase, including Cardinals tickets. Plus, with all-in pricing, there are no surprise fees at checkout. StubHub, it's your ticket to upgrades and more. Here's A.J. Pierzynski with 2 hits. RBI single and a run scored in the 4th and a base hit to right. Now the wild pitch looms large as instead of the 2-run lead, it's now a 3-run Miami lead. Yadier Molina, by the way, his cast is off, got that taken off today, but still it's going to be some time. But Cardinals are hoping before it's all said and done, we'll see him back behind the plate.
There's something you've really got to watch, though, because it's the right thumb. And even if he's required to throw at that time, and you start throwing with that thumb, when you have a bad right thumb, you almost have to fit the ball in your hand to be able to throw it. And sometimes you don't have the grip that you normally would have in it, and that's going to cause pain someplace else, perhaps in the shoulder. It depends on whether it's worth it or not.
Here's the 0-2. Pierzynski strikes out. And what you're talking about is maybe overcompensating with the grip.
Right, right.
Brings in John Jay, who has a 2-run homer back in the 4th. A reminder that this copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. First strikeout for Morris. Runner at first, and the first pitch to John Jay. Hit hard to second, and an inning-ending double play. South Beach 6-3 in favor of Miami. And Cardinals baseball is brought to you by Bud Light Lime, the perfect beer for whatever happens. And by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. Travis Snyder and
that's when South Beach hops 6-3.
AM. Nick Greenwood is into the game. Travis Snyder, Russell Martin, both have homered for the Pirates. And they lead Detroit 10-4. That's in the bottom of the 7th. Milwaukee and Chicago, they're tied 1-1. That's in the top of the 6th. Cardinals were blown out in a couple of games against the Orioles, and that's when we saw Nick Greenwood return to the club. Jason Mott put on the disabled list, and he's part of our Chevy call to the pen. And it's 2 balls and no strikes. 47 pitches on Friday night, game 1 of that series.
I didn't realize that Baltimore had 4 left-handers in their pen also until you told me that before the game. So there were 8 left-handers for the 2 teams in a 3-game series in Baltimore.
As unique as it gets.
Yeah.
It's unique anyway to have 4, but then 4 on 2 teams playing each other. You just don't see that. 2-2 the count. Marcell Ozuna. Good sinking action on that pitch and a strikeout.
One thing about the young left-handers, particularly Greenwood and Freeman, they work quickly. You love to see that with young pitchers. Not dawdling and walking around the mound and looking out to center field, having the vacant stares all over the place.
You brought up a great point in between innings. You know, you think about so many things that these players do, and it's broken down time and again. As Saltalamacchia beats the shift in a base hit, and it's average in RBIs, on-base percentage, power, how hard a player or a pitcher throws. But base running is not taken into account.
It's not.
It's vital to this game.
And we talked about it because Johnny Peralta was doubled off of first base when the Cardinals were 3 runs down. Now, in fairness, Johnny Peralta's first thought was, that was a line drive that was caught on the ground. But his first responsibility is don't get doubled off. There's not going to be a 4-6-3 double play if he doesn't try to run to second base. So your first responsibility is to get back to first. But base running, in my opinion, is a vanishing part of the game that is so vital to the game and to winning baseball. And I don't think players that sign big contracts pay enough attention to what they should be doing on the bases. I think so many guys, and too many guys, think that when they hit the ball, for the most part, their journey's over. Well, let me tell you something. Their journey's just beginning because it's supposed to end up at home plate.
Danny Echeverria.
But not enough players run hard out of the box, and this is an indictment on all players in baseball. It's vanishing, and baseball should shake itself. And agents in particular, in my opinion, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but I don't think enough agents know anything about base running. And I think why should they? Because they sell it to the organizations without really even caring what organizations think, unless a guy is strictly a base stealer.
You've really opened my eyes on something. I've been paying more and more attention to it, but the runner going from first to third, you just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, just talk to Lou Brock. I used to talk to Lou Brock about that all the time, and he makes so much sense on how important a play like that is.
Echeverria grounds out to third. Runner advances to second. No surprise here. Our Nissan drive of the game off the bat is Stanton. The question is, which one? 2 of them. The second one of the longest home runs we've seen hit this year. One of the longest home runs ever in this ballpark. What a talent. And I keep going back to only 24. Where will those numbers be at the end of it? Here's Jeff Baker.
Thing about Giancarlo Stanton, who was Mike Stanton when he broke in, but changed his name back to what he was called in the 5th grade. But he was doing it from day one. This was not something, I mean, from the get-go, you looked at him and went, oh my gosh. Tommy Hutton again and I had our backs to the batting cage talking, and you know, it used to be done with Musial or Mays or the greats of the game, and you could really tell
when he was hitting.
Mm-hmm. You'd hear that fine click.
Hit to short. We move to the 9th. The Cardinals have Taveras, a pinch hitter, and Carpenter coming up. Marlins trying to hold on. They lead it 6-3. The sidewinder for the Miami Marlins. Last year as their closer, 34 of 36, and this year 29 of 32. He's a 28-year-old from Massachusetts, and he'll try to close out the Cardinals with the Marlins leading by 3. This type of pitcher, Tim, and we've talked about it, but you would think lefties would have pretty good success against somebody showing the ball from this angle.
You would. A guy who is a sinker ball pitcher, and particularly if you're a low ball hitter, you love to face a guy like this. But he has that slider also, and that funky delivery. He almost has a left-handed delivery as a right-hander.
Mm-hmm. Peter Borges has moved to the on-deck circle. He homered yesterday as a pinch hitter in Baltimore. Good cut by Taveras and fouled back. 1 ball, 1 strike. Diving stop back in the 2nd by Valdespin to take a hit away. He singled to center, and with 2 runners on, grounded back to the pitcher in the 6th. One and 2.
That's that slider we were talking about. That's the equalizer, and allows a pitcher like Cishek to go back to that fastball away.
Just got a piece. You think about throwing from this angle, the torque that it has on the elbow, the arm, the shoulder. Painful.
Yeah, it's almost when you zero in on pitchers, you want to see the result of what they do, but not how they do it.
And especially when you have the super slow-mo cameras and you see the torque of the elbow. There's a 1-2. And that's hit out of play. Up the middle. Echeverria to his left. Boy, is that smooth or what? Woo. Oh goodness.
Boy. Oh, man.
And you wonder how he does it day after day.
It almost makes a Tommy John surgical procedure. Seems like all pitchers who deliver balls like that, and all pitchers do deliver balls like that. It makes surgical procedures like that understandable.
Yeah. Oh, and 2 on Borges. Three for 8 as a pinch hitter this year. We've seen Peter struggle in particular with the breaking ball, and you wouldn't think this would be a good matchup for him.
Cech has 2 areas to get Peter out, inside with the fastball and the slider away like that.
Primarily, that's how pitchers have been getting him out. A lot of sliders from the right-handers. Here's a 2-2. Works it full. And he walked him. So from 0-2 to a walk. Brings in Matt Carpenter. Giancarlo Stanton, our Budweiser player of the game, 2 for 3, couple of home runs. That doesn't tell the full story. He also made an outstanding catch in right, robbing Kolten Wong. Stanton, our Budweiser player of the game.
Now the matchups favor the Cardinals with Carpenter and Wong, and if Carpenter can get on there, Wong would represent the tying run.
Rarely does Matt Carpenter hit into a double play. One of the toughest to double up in all of Major League Baseball. Pulled foul. Carpenter is grounded into 2 double plays in 440 plate appearances.
Cech, on the other hand, has given up only 2 home runs all year. Understandable with his style of pitching.
You talked about it, the very good sinker that he possesses. And an 0-2 to Carpenter. The 1-2. Off the mound, a flip to second, barehanded, the turn, and safe at first. Valdespin the turn, and Jones couldn't pick it. Extends the game to Kolten Wong.
Well, Valdespin was playing Carpenter to pull, so he had farther to go to turn the double play. Good play by Echeverria. Barehanded by Valdespin, and the throw is low, and Carpenter still has only 2 double plays into which he's grounded this year.
Thought I jinxed him, and I would have heard about it.
Jinx.
You and I are big believers in that jinx.
Jinx do not exist. There's no such thing.
Ball 1 to Kolten Wong.
Oh, ye of too much faith.
Wong trying to extend the ball game to Holliday. He's been on base 4 times with 3 hits. Wong has struck out twice, was robbed by Stanton, and grounded out to second base. Runner at first, 1 ball, 1 strike, and 2 outs here in the top of the 9th, and the Cardinals trailing by 3. A fly ball into right center. Stanton can't get there.
That might be a home run.
On his way to third, he'll score, and Wong to third with a triple. They still have a life.
Didn't mean to interrupt your partner, but I was excited. Sorry.
I was thinking that too. That ball got down.
When it
his
got
speed,
down,
yeah.
you didn't think Ozuna. I mean, it's not a situation where you try to score the runner anyway. But just the excitement of it. This one finds a seam right past Stanton.
Ooh.
Earlier, he dove toward the line back in the 5th inning to make a great play. And now to his right, and Wong keeps it alive.
And here is Holliday. He's had some very good at-bats here tonight. He represents the tying run. First pitch, deep in the hole. Echeverria, long throw, and safe at first. Run scores. The Cardinals are within a run. It's now 6-5.
Mike Matheny came out of the dugout. He was 2 steps toward first base. He was ready to challenge that play had Holliday been called out. Boy, we have seen some show by this young man. He is something. And Holliday was safe.
If the call stands, he's on base for the 5th time in a 4-hit night. And it brings in Matt Adams. Wouldn't this be something? Cardinals a year ago had a dramatic win thanks to a Tony Cruz home run. Year before that in this ballpark, it was Joe Kelly as a pinch runner. We found out all about the athleticism of Joe Kelly as Holliday will be replaced by Shane Robinson.
Outfield in a no doubles defense and encouraged to throw the ball to second base on a base hit to the outfield. Do not allow Matt Adams to get to second.
One swing of the bat and the Cardinals could be on top. Tying run is at first. First pitch is strike to Adams. The Cardinals moments ago were a scoop away from being done tonight. Near double play turn by Echeverria to Valdespin to Jones. Here's the 0-1. Adams is 0 for 4 tonight. Fly to center, struck out, grounded into a double play, and popped out to third. Can the big man come through? The 1-1. 2 balls and a strike. Two balls, 2 strikes.
Slider and a fastball count to run the count to 2-2.
The 2-2. And the Marlins hold on for the victory as Adams is called out. And that'll do it. Some excitement here in the 9th. Big night for Stanton. Marlins hold on 6-5. Stanton is something else, isn't he?
You know, you made a comment, Dan, earlier